An update on the rumoured meeting between Vince McMahon, Triple H and Nick Khan over the creative struggles in WWE right now, particularly Vince McMahon's creative interferences, details on if the meeting took place and what the current feeling is backstage when it comes to the creative team in WWE right now. Jey Uso lays out the challenge to undisputed WWE Universal Champion Roman Reigns last night on SmackDown from Madison Square Garden. Grayson Waller makes his in-ring debut in a defeat against Edge, who returns to the ring on SmackDown last night. LA Knight, was not on SmackDown last night, but he was in MSG. Details on what he did before the show went on the air. Austin Theory successfully defends the US Championship against Sheamus. An update on when the next Saudi Arabia show is going to be and where it's going to take place and what event it's going to be. Survivor Series, the location and date for that has been announced. Big E, an update on his possible in-ring return. And Matt Riddle and Misha Montana are expecting their first child together. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there are plenty of news stories to get into in the world of World Wrestling Entertainment. Let's start off talking about what else but creative in WWE. The creative triangle right now between Vince McMahon, Triple H, and the WWE CEO Nick Khan. Although he's not involved in creative, certainly he's got his opinions on it. And obviously, we've seen recently Vince McMahon, he's been interfering a bit more often, making these changes, albeit remotely, even though he was actually at Madison Square Garden last night for SmackDown. We'll give you an update on that in just a second. But there were rumors recently that Triple H and Nick Khan were planning a, quote, creative intervention meeting with WWE Executive Chairman Vince McMahon. Now, according to Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful Select, McMahon was backstage in his office at SmackDown at Madison Square Garden last night and has been making heavy changes to recent WWE shows. Most of the changes, as I mentioned, have been made remotely and have featured some advertised matches completely being pulled from the show. Now, this rumor that was going around was that Triple H and Nick Khan were planning to ask McMahon to step back from making late, heavy changes. The initial rumor was that the meeting was to take place at the June 26th episode of Monday Night Raw, which Fightful Select have confirmed did not happen. There were long-time sources that heard of the possibility of a meeting, but also said they never heard it actually had taken place. Talent that Fightful spoke to said that usually that type of thing would happen in the middle of the week instead of directly ahead of Raw because it's in between two tapings, unless it was a talent meeting, which of course it would happen the day of the show because that's where all the talent would be congregating. Now, based on what Fightful have heard so far, no such meeting has occurred or has even been planned. Vince McMahon is in a position to where such a meeting could only be a recommendation. He doesn't have to take it, and he doesn't have to do anything he doesn't want to do. It's his company, after all, at least for the foreseeable future, until the merger between UFC and WWE is complete under the Endeavor umbrella. But still, once that does go through, he will still be in full control of everything in WWE. Khan and Triple H effectively cannot force him out of the company, and he can still do what he wants. Now, when Fightful asked a WWE official about the rumors of this creative intervention meeting, they claimed that there was no truth to it whatsoever and dismissed it as silly. Now, some people are pointing out that it's worth noting that for quite a while, WWE higher-ups previously dismissed the idea of Vince McMahon returning to creative for quite some time. Now, he's back in creative and certainly making changes. So just because they dismiss it doesn't necessarily mean, as I mentioned, that it's not completely true or there isn't at least a little bit of truth in it. Now, I mentioned that Vince McMahon was at Madison Square Garden last night. Of course, it took place live from MSG in New York. And Executive Chairman Vince McMahon was along for the ride, according to PW Insider, which reported that McMahon arrived backstage about 35 minutes before its report was published at 6:10 p.m. Eastern. As I mentioned, Fightful Sean Ross Sapp reported the same just minutes later, tweeting, quote, "Talent tells me Vince McMahon is backstage at SmackDown at MSG tonight." On one hand, it's Madison Square Garden. In that regard, McMahon's presence doesn't feel like too much of a surprise. On the other, as always, it remains to be seen what kind of impact he had on the show. As of the time of recording right now, we don't really have an update on if he made any changes or significant changes to the show. If we do find out any more information, we'll let you know later on in the day, of course. Whether he's been present or not, though, McMahon has been pretty heavily involved in WWE's creative direction for quite a while now. To what extent entirely remains kind of murky and unknown, but it's been recently reported that McMahon has been making changes remotely to a number of episodes, be it Raw or SmackDown, leaving some frustrated in the process. So my question is to you guys, what are your thoughts on these rumors? Are they just that? Are they rumors, and should we take them with a pinch of salt? Or, in the same vein that WWE officials dismissed the chance of Vince McMahon ever returning back to creative, and now that he's in creative, should there be at least some consideration that there might be truth to the frustration of Triple H and Nick Khan of Vince McMahon meddling in creative? What are your thoughts on it? Let me know your thoughts, as always, in the comment section below. Let's talk about SmackDown last night. Of course, it was a big show from MSG, and the challenge, as many people expected, has indeed been laid out. Jey Uso has made one thing explicitly clear in the closing moments of SmackDown last night. He isn't here to replace Roman Reigns, but he is here to take the undisputed WWE Universal Championship from him. With promises of a tribal court following the loss suffered by Reigns and Solo Sikoa to the Usos at Money in the Bank, the Bloodline surprisingly kicked off the show with a segment stretching for over half an hour, as the tribal chief Reigns challenged the validity of the court, and upon being shown a clip of his not so greatest hits, went into full-on manipulation mode. There were tears, there were pleas. Reigns even went as far to declare, quote, "I don't want this, I'm done." He went even further, taking his lei to place it around Jey's neck before dropping to his knees. Unsurprisingly, it ended in an all-too-familiar scene, destruction at the hands of Reigns and Sikoa, this time to the point that Jimmy was transported to a hospital. But Jey Uso came back. As the night came to a close, Jey returned through the crowd. He managed to take out Sikoa before getting a chair shot in on Reigns, but as quickly as he could, the tribal chief scrambled up the entrance ramp. So instead, Jey beat Solo down with a chair shot after chair shot after chair shot after chair shot. When the dust settled, Jey took notice of Roman's championship bout still in the ring, and the message was simple. "I don't give a damn about no brothers, no wise man, just me and you, one-on-one," Jey declared as SmackDown was ending. "You better accept my challenge so I can whoop your ass one more time." As I mentioned, seemingly laying the foundations and the challenge out there for this undisputed WWE Universal Championship match to take place at SummerSlam in Ford Field in Detroit in August. What did you think of the Tribal Court segment last night, and what did you think of the closing moments of the show? And could possibly Jey Uso be the one to dethrone Roman Reigns? Let me know your thoughts about that. SmackDown last night also saw the return of the Rated R superstar, WWE Hall of Fame Edge, not only to TV, but also to in-ring competition. Grayson Waller made his WWE main roster in-ring debut on Friday night's edition of SmackDown on Fox. Earlier in the night, during the Grayson Waller Effect talk show segment, Waller had Edge as a guest. The Rated R superstar expressed his gratitude to fans before Waller tried to announce Edge's retirement. Edge, though, had other plans, however, and informed Waller that they would have a match later on in the night. Ultimately, Edge defeated Waller in the encounter. Waller has had something of a big week with regards to sharing the ring with WWE legends and icons. This past Saturday at the Money in the Bank Premium Live event, Waller confronted John Cena during a promo. After a brief verbal back and forth between Waller and Cena, Waller found himself on the receiving end of an attitude adjustment from the 16-time WWE World Heavyweight Champion. His last match, actually, Waller, before Friday night, came back in April on the spring-breaking edition of NXT, where he challenged Carmelo Hayes for the NXT Championship. Recently, Waller revealed he hasn't wrestled since being drafted to SmackDown due to suffering a broken leg in that aforementioned match with Hayes, but now he's back, unfortunately on the losing end, but he shared a ring with the Rated R superstar. Not bad going for the former NXT superstar. Now, lots of people were wondering, where was LA Knight? Yeah, last night on SmackDown. Well, he wasn't on the show, but he was in New York, and he was in Madison Square Garden. The rising popularity of LA Knight was on full display at Madison Square Garden last night, even as the veteran wrestler didn't even appear on the live telecast of SmackDown on Fox. Prior to the live taping, Hit Row berated the New York crowd with certain references to the Knicks championship drought, and just as they continued to generate heat, the crowd came unglued as LA Knight's music hit. Knight marched down to the ring with his usual swagger as the fans serenaded him with loud LA Knight chants. Knight, offered a handshake by Ashanti the Adonis, was in no mood for pleasantries as he shoved the Hit Row member to the corner before switching his focus to Top Dollar. The numbers came caught up to Knight as Dollar and Adonis delivered some tandem offense, but eventually LA Knight escaped a powerbomb attempt and nailed Dollar with a neck breaker, following it up with his leaping elbow drop with theatrics. Upon clearing the ring, Knight grabbed the microphone, much to the delight of the over 12,000 fans at the world's most famous arena. "Let me talk to you," Knight began. "New York, I'm going to keep this short and sweet. New York, tell them whose game this is." The fans let it known as LA Knight ended the segment with his "yeah" catchphrase. Now, although the segment did not take place on television, it seemed to firmly establish Knight as a babyface, at least in the eyes of fans on social media. Previously, Knight was internally listed as a heel, despite him receiving babyface reactions across the recent European tour, not to mention at house shows in the United States. Similarly, fans in London were firmly in the corner of Knight at Money in the Bank, even as he failed to grab the briefcase. After the show, WWE Chief Content Officer Paul Triple H Levesque acknowledged that Knight was the sentimental favourite, going as far to say that great things come to those who wait. The comments alluded to Knight's inevitable push to the top of the card, but despite the fact that Triple H said that, he wasn't even on SmackDown last night. Now, just to further demonstrate how popular LA Knight is at the moment, LA Knight has also reacted to reports indicating that he is among the top merch sellers in WWE for the past month, as fans continue to say, yeah. Earlier reports circulated that LA Knight was among the top 5 merchandise sellers in WWE for the month of June 2023, and now the star has reacted himself. Ahead of LA Knight in the top 5 in projected merchandise sales were only Roman Reigns, Cody Rhodes, and Stone Cold Steve Austin, with the LWO coming in 5th behind Knight in 4th. LA Knight responded to the information on Twitter, originated by WrestleNomics, which closely monitors anticipated merch movers, by simply writing "Defiant." And defiant indeed it seems, as fans continue to show their outpouring of affection for the charismatic star, despite the not-so-secret backstage tidbit that only a year ago, Knight felt his days in WWE were numbered. So, what are your thoughts on LA Knight appearing before SmackDown? Are you upset that he didn't appear on the show? And what do you think is next for the star in WWE? Will they get behind him? Will they push him? Or is this going to be another instance in WWE of them not getting behind a star that fans want to see pushed? The United States Championship was on the line last night on SmackDown 2. Austin Theory is still the United States Champion after a somewhat tainted victory over Sheamus on Friday night's episode of SmackDown on Fox. Theory escaped New York's Madison Square Garden with his title thanks to timely interference from Pretty Deadly, who caused just enough trouble at ringside before being run off by Sheamus' cohorts in the Brawling Brutes, Ridge Holland and Butch. Amidst the chaos, Theory hit Sheamus from behind and then connected with his A-Town Down finisher to secure the pinfall after just over 10 minutes of action. It's the second successful defense of the United States title for Theory at Madison Square Garden. Back in March, he defeated Seth Rollins in a steel cage match during a non-televised live event. Theory's debut at the world's most famous arena was far more humbling, as he was soundly defeated by Brock Lesnar in just over 90 seconds during a live event in March of 2022. Theory has held the US title for 224 days and counting, but less than a month before SummerSlam, it's unclear who's currently in line to be his next challenger. Could it be LA Knight? Well, I guess Theory would kind of hope so, because Theory's been off the last 2 WWE Premium Live events. Maybe if LA Knight is the challenger, they might make it onto SummerSlam later on this summer. Speaking of SmackDown last night as well, WWE continues to break records at the moment. It's always a special night for WWE when it returns to New York's Madison Square Garden. Yet, financially speaking, this week's SmackDown has apparently topped them all. Minutes after the episode dominated by the Bloodline concluded, WWE announced 2 more records for the company: the highest grossing WWE event ever at Madison Square Garden, and the highest grossing domestic SmackDown in WWE history. Of course, these days, that's just another day for the company. Recently, it's been boasting about breaking records all over the place. Last Saturday, WWE announced that Money in the Bank broke the record as the highest grossing arena event in company history. Last November, it was reported that the Royal Rumble, an event that holds a 36-year history, had broken the largest gate record for the show in January, and this year's SummerSlam, which takes place on August 5th, has already set a non-WrestleMania record for day 1 ticket sales. Meanwhile, John Cena has teased WrestleMania coming to London, England, during his surprise appearance at Money in the Bank, much to the delight of the UK crowd. Backlash in May from Puerto Rico was another smashing success for the company, not to mention its lucrative deal with Saudi Arabia too. WWE is achieving tremendous success nearly everywhere it goes nowadays, but knowing its history inside Madison Square Garden, Friday night had a little extra special, certainly for the company, didn't it? Now, speaking of Saudi Arabia too, the next WWE Saudi show has possibly been revealed. As previously reported, WWE has become more strategic with the way they have announced their premium live events to get the most out of each one. With the announcement of Survivor Series 2023 taking place in a city we'll name in just a second, the only date that's yet to be revealed is the upcoming return to Saudi Arabia for the company. WWE has a 10-year partnership with the Saudi General Sports Authority, with the company being paid big money to host 2 events in the country every year. 2023 has only seen 1 premium live event with Night of Champions in May. According to Brandon Thurston of WrestleNomics, WWE's next Saudi Arabia event is planned for Saturday, November 4. Historically, the company has called their November Saudi Arabia shows Crown Jewel, so we'll have to wait and see if they go with that. Of course, earlier this year, we were going to get a King and Queen of the Ring event in Saudi Arabia that was scrapped for Night of Champions, so we'll have to wait and see. We'll let you know if we get an update as to what that show is going to be called. Now, we did just touch on Survivor Series there. The date and location for that event has also been announced. Per WWE's corporate website, the event will take place on Saturday, November 25th at the Allstate Arena in Chicago. Of course, a lot of WWE and AEW events taking place in Chicago over the next several months. We've got All Out taking place at Chicago too. They visit there quite a lot, but Survivor Series is going to be taking place there. No mention of War Games just yet. That was what happened last year at Survivor Series, but as of right now, no War Games has been announced. An update on Big E too, because Big E has provided an update on if he'll ever be able to return to in-ring competition. Because it's been nearly 16 months since Big E suffered a devastating neck injury when he landed on his head from a belly-to-belly suplex. On that fateful night of March 11, 2022, the New Day member fractured his C1 and C6 vertebrae, and while the nature of the injury cast serious doubt of his future as a pro wrestler, many breathed a sigh of relief that he didn't suffer a career-ending ligament or spinal cord damage. Now, on a recent episode of After the Bell, Big E provided an update on his potential in-ring return. He said, quote, "I feel great. Unfortunately, I don't have a timetable, but the great thing is I feel 100%. I don't even feel like somebody who broke their neck. My mobility is incredible. My strength is great. I have no issues whatsoever. I wish I had some answers on returning to the ring. I got nothing, unfortunately." Big E added that he feels thankful for his recovery and blessed to be able to walk around, touch his toes, and go to the gym. He proceeded to thank a long list of people who have helped him through his recovery process, recalling the nights when he wasn't aware of the severity of his injury. He said, quote, "I thought it was just a contusion and I didn't realize my neck was broken at all," Big E recalled. "I thought I could get up and walk. Thankfully, people got to me before I could do that. I'm so thankful for people in Birmingham, Dr. Dugas, who took great care of me, even the people who texted and emailed me, fans, peers, loved ones." In conclusion, Big E said that his perception of social media went from a dark and less than ideal place to a really beautiful community when he received an outpouring of support. "I am grateful to everyone. I am so proud to be a part of this community and this industry." So, of course, if we get an update on Big E's in-ring future, we'll let you know. Finally, Matt Riddle is expecting a child, his first child, with Misha Montana. Of course, he already has 3 children from an existing marriage, or a pre-existing marriage. Inside the ring, WWE star Matt Riddle has been up against it in recent months. Outside of it, however, congratulations are in order. This week, his partner Misha Montana announced on Twitter that she and Riddle are expecting their first child together coming up in December. December 2023, #bro, she tweeted, with Riddle's handle tagged between a heart and a heart face emoji. The original bro retweeted her initial tweet on Thursday, but Montana sent a much longer message the following day. "Thank you so much to everyone that has reached out. It's so comforting to feel so much love from all of you. It started before taking aim of those who have not been so kind in light of the news. It's sad to see just how inept, intolerant, and ignorant human beings still are, even with so much access to education," she stated. Nonetheless, Riddle expressed his adoration for Montana during his time away from WWE programming. Back in February, on the heels of conflicting reports regarding a second failed drugs test and subsequent rehab, Riddle took to Twitter to sound his appreciation for Montana. Quote, "Thank you for supporting me during my recovery, babe, and loving me," Riddle wrote. So congratulations to them both as they're expecting their first child together. But there you go, guys. It's the latest WWE news for you. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon. Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right-hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.